Welcome back, everybody, to podcast number 3 of Back to Basics. Today, we're going to be talking about a couple various topics, but first, I'm Tim Cunningham, and we have...
30 years of Magic experience. We are the Mythbusters of Magic.
I was waiting for your name, but go ahead.
Rob Meyerdix.
And we're improving this, clearly. But yes, we do have that. Level 1 judge over there. And, just some random guy. Tim Cunningham.
I'm the host of today's show.
Yep. And today we're going to be talking a couple things. We're going to be talking about upcoming set. What's it called?
Dragon Maze.
Dragon Maze. And how we should be drafting that set. So we're going to go guild by guild. All 10 of them.
Yes, and to be fair, we're not talking about strictly Dragon Maze, we're talking about full block, because we only know one card out of Dragon Maze right now.
Yeah.
So, it's where do you draft this mythic rare when you're open?
So we're talking about Return to Ravnica and Gate Crash right now, and we know those mechanics, we know the cards of them, so we're thinking, okay, Pack 2, Pack 3, how are we going to draft this after we've established a color? And our color is... For example, today we're going to be talking about Boros.
But one of the big things we're also thinking about is that in a triple set format, one of those packs is guaranteed to have none of your guild cards. It'll have base or monocolor cards for your guild, but it will have no multicolor cards for your guild.
Right.
You are probably going to have to splash a third color.
Right, and that's our basis. So we're taking the odds of this that you're probably going to be 3 color rather than 2. I mean, yes, you're going to have decks that are 2 color, and it's going to be nutty, and you're probably going to win. Or maybe you won't, but, it's more likely than not that, based upon what our experience has told us, that you'll be 3 colors. And, I mean, they're putting a
gate or a shock in every
pack.
Yeah.
So fixing's going to be good. You're going to want... I mean, that's kind of emphasizing that you want to be 2 or 3, or 3 or 4 colors even.
Yeah.
But we're going to focus on being a guild and then splashing a third.
Yeah. What guilds do you want to splash into with it?
And then we're going to have a little discussion about counterdrafting and a particular card that I've been doing a little dialogue with some people on a draft video. So we're going to talk about that. So let's talk about Boros.
Yes. So Boros, as you know, is going to be an aggro deck.
Yes.
And so in our basic conversations, one of the things that we already have kind of decided is that we think Boros is going to be weaker than it was before because the format's probably going to slow down.
Right. I agree because, I mean, if we're playing Guild Gates, our turn 1, that's your turn 1 that you could have been maybe playing a Boros Elite. But granted, Boros wasn't exactly playing a turn 1 drop all the time, but you still kind of want to. I mean, if you're that aggressive Boros deck, if you have a 1-drop or a couple really good 1-drops, that's going to be that Boros deck that I was just discussing, where you're probably going to win that draft because you're 2 color and you're super aggro Boros.
Yes.
But that's going to happen 1 times out of 10 drafts, I think.
Yeah, maybe even 15.
I don't know. I don't know the format. It could be ridiculous.
Yeah.
They could have ridiculous cards and it could be super aggressive.
For all we know, Dragon Maze is going to be 1 card from each guild and Boros.
Right.
Boros won, guys!
Right. So, we have no idea. We're just speculating. And we could be completely wrong. And we're going to obviously adjust our thoughts on this once we know more cards.
Yes.
But just based on experience that, from drafting, how many years? Oh, geez. So, cards that are going to be better in Boros, in our opinion, are cards like, just talking about red-white here.
Yep.
Not talking about splashing yet.
Yep. Fencing Ace.
Yes. Fencing Ace, I think, is going to be one of those cards that people aren't going to think about, but when they see it, they're like, Fencing Ace.
That card's going to be great with madcap skills, and if you're doing any kind of green splash, Blood Rush. But even if you're not doing any kind of green splash, there's enough red Blood Rush cards that it's going to make it better. Or even Holy Mantle.
Mm-hmm.
Just,
Yeah.
hey, here's my 3/3 double strike. You can't block. Deal with it.
Yeah.
So Fencing Ace is better. It was okay before. It's really good now.
Yeah, because there's more enchantments. There's Blood Rush, and we don't know what else is happening in the new set.
Mm-hmm.
There could be a new mechanic that also,
I
makes
think
things.
I think we're supposed to just see the same guild mechanics. I'm
Okay.
not positive, but I think we're supposed to see the same
Okay,
guild
I don't know,
mechanics.
but just they could throw something new out there.
Mm-hmm.
We have Azorius Arrestor.
Yep. Anytime when you're Boros and you can take a block out of the way, it's probably not great turn 2. But it's probably
No, absolutely not.
But it's probably really good turn 4-5.
Yeah.
When you've already been doing some damage. If you can take their biggest blocker out of the way, that's good.
Because they're probably attacking you back, at least
Mhm.
with a couple creatures.
Yeah.
Because their creatures are going to be bigger. So they're trying to race you, but still kind of trade.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. Maybe they're being really, really passive because they see that you're really aggressive. But even still, taking out their best creature, definitely good.
Yep.
And with the format being slower like we think it might be, that's going to be just what pushes that extra couple damage in to make you win the game.
Couple Brute's going to be way better than it was before. It is actually, like we were discussing, a card that is going to be one of the first on our cards that are worse, Bloodfray Giant. And I was saying I would now pick Cobble Brute over Bloodfray Giant because I'm more likely to be able to play the Cobble Brute as the 1 red mana than the Bloodfray Giant.
Right, and that's a turn earlier, which is going to be really important. And it's a 5/2 that can block.
Yeah, it might be a turn. It might be 2-3 turns early before I get that second red.
Right.
I mean,
you still have removal that can kill the 5/2 pretty easily. I mean, there's still mugging. There's still some cards, but
mugging's gonna people like this way. I think people don't quite realize it is mugging's a really card you have to think about a whole lot now because it's trip.
Right.
When it's just a single pack, you're gonna see maybe 1-2 muggings.
Yeah. I know.
So,
but that brings up another point. Pretty much anything that has double color in it is slightly worse. So you mentioned Holy Mantle earlier. It's still, I'd say, a wash because that card is just so ridiculous. But it definitely doesn't help that it's going to be harder to cast.
I don't think it's a wash. I think it's a little bit worse. Just because it is harder to cast. It's not as good when you're not reliably able to cast it, like you can now. If you're playing Holy Mantle, you're playing probably Boros or Orzhov.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're only playing Boros or Orzhov. You're playing Holy Mantle. Never mind. But right now,
so cards like Scorchwalker and Massive Raid, those I think are definitely worse because of the double red requirement in them.
yes, and people would think you're looking at, wait, Scorchwalker only costs 1 red. The relevant ability on Scorchwalker, the Blood Rush, is double red.
Right, and that's what you want to really use it for.
Yeah.
That's 9 times out of 10. I hold my Scorchwalker for that. And that's what you want to do for that surprise lava axe out of nowhere.
Yeah. Boros Lead's worse. Just because you can't reliably cast on turn 1 anymore at this point.
Right.
And even the aggro Boros deck is going to be slowing down some.
Correct.
So, because you're not going to see as many good Boros cards with only having one pack that Boros is one of the main 5 guilds.
Right. And I don't even think 1-drops are going to be very good anymore.
The only 1-drop that's me that I think is going to be really playable is, well, there's going to be 2. The Black Denizen, Give Me Things that Intimidate, still going to be fine. And the Extort guy.
Yeah, well, anything with Extort will be fine because it still is relevant later.
Yeah.
But something like Sunspire Griffin, that's double white, and that used to be pretty much staple in Boros. Now,
And that was in Boros. That was in Selesnya. What's wrong block for Boros?
oh right, sorry.
But just staple for the white decks.
Right.
Yeah.
Azorius and Selesnya.
Yeah. So now you're looking at that guy being a 4, maybe a 5-drop with the double right requirement, and you're getting a 2/3 flyer. Like he's still technically a 3-drop with paying 3 mana, but he's turn 4 or 5 the earliest you're going to get in most games.
Right. I mean, it's not what you want.
Mm-mm.
So something like Skylight Legionnaire, that's still fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think he gets a little worse just because I think there's going to be still more flyers and more cards with reach. You still have your Krakenuras still there, and you're adding
Spider, Towering Ingot or whatever.
Yeah, you're adding him back into the equation.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be ways to deal with him, and the color requirement, it's kind of a wash. But I mean the Griffin, that would be a card I looked for, and now I don't even really care for it.
No, the 3/2 flyer for 4 with 1 white mana. What's he called?
I don't remember.
Assault Griffin, is that his name?
Yes, Assault Griffin.
He's better. Because, granted, all the cards same name were still there, but his only 1 right requirement. Cards that only require a single color mana are all getting better by about 5%.
Okay.
Assuming they were playable before. Cards that were pretty much unplayable before are probably still not playable.
Right.
Like, what's the stupid card where you gain life equal to the creature's power and toughness combined?
Oh, I have no idea, but
it's really bad, and it's still unplayable.
Right. And let's also preface, because we haven't done this yet, we're not talking about or discussing rares, removal, or anything like that, because rares are pretty good already. You're not going to see them very often, so we're not going to waste our time with that, saying, oh, should you play this rare? We're talking about commons and uncommons. In removal, play your stupid removal. It's removal.
Yeah.
And burn is still burn. You want to play burn. I mean,
Yep.
Massive Raid we talked about specifically because of the double red requirement.
Yeah, and unlike Fiery Temper, is that the one from Return to Ravnica? That's 3 damage, and it exiles a creature if it dies.
I don't remember.
It's 2 red and 1 as well. But unlike that card, which is pretty much guaranteed removal, considering how small a lot of the creatures are in this block, the Massive Raid is not.
Right.
So.
Alright, so let's say you're Boros. It's you finish your first pack, and you got a bunch of Boros cards. Maybe you're hinging, but you think you're Boros, and you open up your next pack. And
so the guilds in the next pack you can splash into are going to be Orzhov and Gruul.
Okay. So, with Gruul, what are you looking at?
With Gruul, the Gorchan Rampager is going to be actually, I think, better than it was before. I know, like I was saying, we're talking about it's coming out a turn later, but everyone else's stuff's coming out a turn later too. So the 4/4 Trampler is going to be really good, and if you did manage to be aggressive, the Blood Rush ability is going to be really good, especially maybe from the next pack you can try to get a Fencing Ace.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all the abilities of that card, him being a 4-drop, he actually becomes slightly better in a Naya build now than he was before.
Oh, I definitely agree. He was definitely good before, but now I think just because we're already looking at 3 colors more likely, then you're more likely to be picking that up rather than just, I could play him, but I'm not going to look at him.
Mm-hmm.
So then if you're Gruul, of course you have Ground Assault.
It's getting better, and we talked about removal. You're going to play. It's probably about the same. It's going to be good, but this is probably an 18 land format because you're going to be in 3 colors.
Right.
You're probably going back to Shards block 18 land decks. So anything like that is better.
Mm-hmm.
That card almost reads Terminate now, late game, but that card will pretty much just be as good as Terminate was.
Yeah, and that's going to be your premium removal.
Yeah.
Once again, we're talking about that because it's slightly different than just play your removal.
Well, because it's one of the only remove cards that actually got better.
Right.
Because you're going to be playing more land in this format.
But then there's something that gets worse.
Burning Emissary.
Look at that, huh? Isn't that weird? Like, a card that you would just love to pick up. Especially, even in Boros.
Yeah, because if you're going to deny it, yeah.
Yeah, and now, I don't see it being very good. Because
I think the format's going to slow down too much for it.
It's not even that. It's, what are you going to do with the 2 mana? I mean, you're going to have a couple 2-drops, but I don't think you're going to be able to reliably play
A Disciple of the Old Ways, or
anything that's relevant with that extra 2.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you play it on turn 3 and you play the 2 and 3-drop, I I just don't see it being very good. And like now it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
If you get 2 of those, your deck is insane.
Yeah.
If you get 2 of these in the full black, I think it's just going to be So yeah, I think it got significantly worse.
I tend to agree. Splashing Gruul is going to be good. I think that's going to be one of your better splashes you can make in the Boros. Simply because I think it's going to give you access to better late game, and you're going to need a late game in this format.
Right.
But that is one of the cards. Like if you're looking at early game Gruul cards, such as the Burning Tree Emissary, I think they all got worse, except for the exception of maybe Slatterhorn is the only one that didn't get worse. But I think if you're talking about Gruul cards, 3 mana or less, they probably all got worse in this splash.
All right. So what was the other guild? Orzhov.
Orzhov will be the other one that's from this that you could open in Gatecrash.
Okay. So first, right off the bat, let's get it out of the way. All extort creatures are still good.
Yep, every last one of them. Anything that gives you reach late game, perfect.
Yeah, I mean you already would play extort in Borzov, so I mean this is basically making Borzov easier to play, which is already playable.
1,000 Lashes better.
Already good.
Already good, but in a slower format, that 1 damage, maybe it does 4 damage before. In a slower format, now maybe it's doing 6, 7 damage that you don't have to deal. So it just gets a little bit better when the slow format gets slower.
Right. So bear that in mind. Hold your 1,000 Lashes for that little bit better card, maybe. I mean, because there could be that card that you could play it on turn 4, but you might want to hold it till turn 5.
Yeah. Well, that's always been true with any kind of passive effects. You want to get it on. You want to get the best creature you can with it. Like, obviously, if you need to stop a creature on turn 4 to keep from dying, play it. But if you can deal with everything on their board, with your board, there's no need to play it right then. Wait till it's a creature you have trouble dealing with. But that's true with almost all removal.
That's true. Yeah. So just bear that in mind when you're thinking about playing your removal. Here's a surprise. Gateway Shade.
Gateway Shade, way better. Those of you who have not heard the announcement, every pack of Dragon Mages will have either a Shockland or a Guildgate in it, or the new Mythic, but the vast majority will have a Guildgate in it.
Yeah, so you're going to have all 3 packs that you could get Guildgates from, but especially that first one.
Yeah. That first one, you can maybe pick up 3-4 Guildgates.
Very easily.
Yeah. So that card is better. You're going to be playing more Guildgates. You're going to be playing more land, probably. So Gateway Shade just got better.
And it's a splashable card.
It's a splashable card. It only has a 1 black requirement, and you don't really have to worry about its black pump ability if you're playing 3-4 Guildgates. Yeah.
Right. And it pumps twice for it. That's just great.
Yeah. For the same reason that Gateway Shade got better, over Jailbreaker got better too. You're wanting to be the aggressive deck, probably. So 4/4 for 4 is fine, and he's probably going to be able to attack most of the time. He's probably not going to have his defender most of the time.
Right. So I mean, if you're trying to be Orzhov, that's a pretty good guild to be in, I think, because it didn't really lose a whole lot of power level, in my opinion. I mean, something like Ultimate Price for that removal spell, I don't know if it got worse or better. Well, it didn't get better, that's for sure. But I don't know if it got worse.
I think it got worse. We were talking about this before. I think you're going to be seeing, because you're going to be seeing more 3-color decks, you're going to be people trying to fit 2 or 3 guilds into their deck.
Right.
Because if you're in Orzhov and Boros, you're also in Rakdos.
Right.
So you're going to see a lot more gold creatures, I think, because people are going to be looking at it and saying, well, I'm already in these 2 guilds, which means I'm also in Rakdos, so I can take all these good Rakdos cards too.
Right.
So I think you're going to be seeing less monocolored creature play. So I think Ultimate Price
I guess
got a lot worse than Limited.
Jailbreaker would be a Rakdos card, because that wasn't until Return to Ravnica.
Yeah, we put it out of place, but whatever.
Yeah. It's black.
Yeah.
Don't be racist. And then like the Locust, that's just kind of mediocre now.
So when you get to Return to Rav,
You have three other guilds, right?
Yeah, you have 3 other guilds. So if you were planning on trying to get more better in Rakdos in that guild, or Izzet, or Selesnya, we're going to talk about those now.
So since we were just talking about black, we'll continue Rakdos. You had your Ogre Jailbreaker, but Rakdos Cackler probably
Way better.
One of the one drops that is playable.
Yeah, he might be. I'm thinking him and Cloud from Raptor are probably the only ones I want to play right now.
Yeah, but not knowing the format and not knowing the cards that are in the new set, we could be completely wrong about this.
But a 2/2 on turn 1 is still going to be good if you can get it.
Yeah, I think so.
And even if you play him on turn 2, you have a bear. Mm-hmm. That's what I think makes him still really good in these kind of decks. Because even if you go turn 1 gate, turn 2 bear, right. that's a normal turn 2 anyway.
Right, and because it's not going to be like it's ridiculous where they're just going to be like, all right, 7/7s. It's still going to be a limited format. Mm-hmm. So limited rules are still going to apply. That grizzly bears are good and giant spiders are good, and etc.
Yeah, hill giants are fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And then something else that's good, Splatterthug.
Splatterthug is, I don't know if he's better or worse, but I know if you are playing a Boros main shell, I don't know if you have a better aggressive 3-drop than Splatterthug.
Right. And Splatterthug, I just love him. Yeah. That's the card I was looking for when I was trying to draft Boros in Return to Ravnica. That was fun. You're looking for things like Splatterthug and Bloodfray Giant, but we already talked about him. Mm-hmm. Surprisingly, what got worse?
I think the Dead Reveler got worse. Is that his name, Dead Reveler?
Yeah.
If I'm playing those kind of cards, like if you know everything I named that was getting better and good for this Boros deck, if you're flashing Rakdos, if you're trying to do the aggressive Boros Rakdos, early on had red and its mana cost. There was the hybrid red-black card, there was the mono-red card, and now you're talking about the mono-black 3-drop. I don't know if I don't think he's as good as a Splatterthug. I don't think he's as good as the Legionnaire we talked about. Might not be as good.
Right.
So I'm looking at that card and saying, my card with black mana in them, if I'm doing this, might want to be later cards. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at my Rakdos and saying, I'll take some of the early Unleash red stuff or hybrid stuff. Mm-hmm. But the stuff with the black mana in it, if I'm trying to be really aggressive, I want my third guild or my second guild to be a really narrow niche.
Mm-hmm. You just don't want to have your splash be that card that you want to play on turn 3 or even especially not turn 2, but turn 3, and especially a card like Dead Reveler. It's not going to be as good in the first place because of the format slowing down once again, and you're probably not going to play him turn 3 consistently. So playing him turn 4, God forbid, turn 5.
Yeah. Now when we're talking about this, we want to make sure that we are talking about you are going to be in a heavy Boros shell splashing into another guild.
Correct.
Not you are playing a 50-50 mix. If you're playing a 50-50 mix, the Dead Reveler is fine. Mm-hmm. But if we're talking about playing a heavy Boros guild with a splashing into another guild.
Right.
So.
Right. I mean, we'll go into maybe your heavy Rakdos, then we'll talk about that. But that's future podcast.
Yes.
So, one of my favorite guilds is it. Played the Weed Juggernauts. Is it?
If you can just do a very light. Is it splash? I think a couple of the cards that are really good got a lot better for you, and it might be one of the better splashes if you can keep it light. Mm-hmm. If you're needing to splash 6-7 cards, it's bad. If you're needing to splash 4 cards, it got really good.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to talk about? That got better.
Well, Thought Flare didn't really get better, but you gained access to it. A lot easier for Boros. And a card like Thought Flare, that's the card that you want in Boros. Because you just need those extra cards, and you don't want to draw your extra lands. So you pitch those 2 cards that you didn't care about, and now you have 2 great cards that is going to give you that extra reach to finish the deal.
And I thought Flare was the second best card I got access to behind Boros' new overrun teleportal.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty good. Especially since you have access to it. I mean, you have a bunch of dorks. They're just, they're dorks, they're bears, they're maybe a hill giant or two. And he's at pretty low life, your opponent. That's gonna just win you the game.
Mm-hmm.
Was it +2/+0 and everything?
I think it's +1/+1 and everything's indestructible.
I don't remember. It's one of the
not
two.
indestructible, unblockable.
Unblockable. That's the key word, though. I mean, that's going to be 5-6 damage easily.
It could even be as much as 10-11 damage.
Yeah, but I'm saying easily.
Yeah.
I mean, on average, it might be 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say, though.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the
format is. I think most of the Izzet creatures aren't very good in the splash.
Right.
So when you're looking at Izzet, you're really looking at Izzet spells. And in fact, we're going to talk about a couple Izzet creatures that got worse just for the Boros splash. Not in general. We're just talking about how it works with Boros right now.
Well, we never really splashed in the first place for Izzet creatures, but I'm saying when you're thinking about creatures in terms of playing with Boros, a card like Izzet Snapcaster is not even close to what you want to be playing.
No. But a card like Void Wielder, not very good in the Boros, not even close to what you're going to play in the Boros matchup.
Right.
But overall in the format, I think as good as it was before, it's going to be better if you're not in a heavy Boros shell. The format slows down. 5 drops get a little bit better.
Oh yeah.
Boros going to be better, but in this, so I don't want people to saying, what? You're saying Void Wielder is not good anymore? No, it's going to be really good.
I think, better.
It's not going to be really good in a heavy Boros spell where you're trying to splash into Izzet.
Right.
And the reason we picked these guilds to talk about is they're all the guilds that share a color with Boros.
Right.
So.
Alright, so, on to the next guild. What is it? Azorius?
Azorius.
Oh, this is one of my favorite. I don't know why, but drafting blue-white for me, it's just, I always liked it. Just flying over creature, or over your opponent. Yeah. It's just so easy. I think the easiest guild to draft is blue-white. That's probably why I like it so much. If it says flying, you take it. Can't go wrong.
So, cards that are going to be kind of crucial for the Boros deck. The Sky Knight.
Sky Knight's good. It was already good before, but putting that in Boros, wow. Having a 3/1, holy crap.
Now, the difference between that and the Dead Reveler, that is also a 3-drop, and we say we don't really wanting to get the low drops that require a different color of mana, is the Dead Reveler on turn 5 is either being a 4/3, 3/4, remember which?
3/4.
3/4 that can't block, or 2/3 that can block. Not exciting. While this is being a 3/1 flyer, better already, and you're removing a blocker out of the way.
Right.
So,
even if it didn't have Detain, I would still play it. Just as a 3/1 flyer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's got the roughly the same stats like a Windrake, with 2/2, so 4 total, but the Detain is what makes him really playable. You're removing a blocker late game, that's good for Boros. You need to be able to push across with the last few damage, and he helps with that, both in flying and with the Detain.
So, speaking of Detain, in action injunction, that's just perfect for what you want to do with Boros. Remove a blocker and replace the card? Holy crap.
Yep. And again, any turn, you're happy with that.
Yeah. I mean, people were talking about mugging because, it removes a blocker, you know? But
this is removing a blocker and an attacker for a turn, too.
That's true. Yes.
Because they can't do the swing back with it, so you don't have to worry about that creature swinging back next turn.
Right. So, even a card like Hands of Binding, that might be getting played in Boros now, too. It depends on how much evasion you have, though. But I think that card will be seen in Boros.
I think it'll be seen in the Boros with the blue splash.
Right.
Yeah, with the more leaning down. Well, I meant with the more heavy.
If they're splashing black, they might play Hands of
I meant more of the Azorius splash, not more of the Izzet splash, because you're playing more of the Azorius creatures, which shouldn't have more evasion.
Okay.
I meant the Azorius splash.
Now you make sense.
Because I think if you're trying to get the Izzet splash in,
Hands of Binding doesn't really work.
Hands of Binding doesn't really work, but if you're looking at the Azorius creatures, Hands of Binding works all.
Because you have more evasion. But, speaking of evasion, and blue creatures, like, Fairy Imposter...
Well, it's not going to be as good in these decks as... The reason it was fairly playable before is you could bounce a Detain guy and re-detain and get out your guys. You're probably not going to have that as good as that, and your Boros deck you're not having a whole lot coming into play abilities that are relevant.
Right.
If he's not resetting a coming into play ability you want, he's just...
That card I loved that card before.
I love that card, and I think it's still fine. I just don't think it's fine in a heavy Boros build with the blue splash, with the Azorius splash.
And then when you're talking about blue, either is it or Azorius. This card, I don't think you play in Boros. Aetherize.
Aetherize? No. You don't leave 4 mana open. No.
Nope. Yeah, that's not ever what you want to play in Boros. Like, oh, they're gonna...
If I'm leaving 4 mana open on my opponent on the end of my turn, I'm like, this deck is not doing what I want it to do. Right. I didn't optimize my mana every turn.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if they do swing all in.
And I don't think Aetherize is going to be better overall in this format than it was in the last format, because I thought Aetherize was always very disappointing before. But I don't think... I hope it's
in
not
a slower format, Aetherize gets a lot better. So for
still not as good as Sleep, but it's...
No, definitely not. But it'll definitely get better. Especially if the format's slower like we think it will be. So, last guild.
Selesnya, woohoo, my favorite guild to play. Well, Boros was probably my... No, actually, I think in the original Ravnica was Boros. In the new Ravnica, Selesnya was the one I was most fun with.
Okay.
So this is my favorite guild.
So if you're in your first 2 packs,
Mm-hmm.
you're Boros, and you got a couple green cards. What are you looking for with? Well, let's say actually, never mind. We'll just say first pack, you're Boros.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for a splash. Maybe you're seeing some green cards. What
Next
are you
pack's
looking for?
Gruul, so you could be going into some green there.
Yeah.
Gruul's in there, so let's say you took more like Slaughter Hordes and stuff like that, and let's say at least some better Gruul cards.
Right.
So, Selesnya Charm's big. Being able to pump your Boros guy, get some extra damage is good. Getting another attacker out's fine. And your creatures aren't going to be that big, so being able to just destroy a big dude, all of its modes are going to be very relevant for Boros.
My favorite guild mage ever still is amazing.
He gives you late game.
She
Gives you late game. And that's what you need.
She can win on her own.
She can win on her own, yeah.
That's still true.
You will, even when Boros is like as good as it is now, because it'll get a little bit worse. I think it'll get a lot worse. But that card does give you the ability to win late game. And you need that in Boros. You need some kind of card in case you get drawn out to late game to be able to
But I
pull
think
it out
that
for
guild mage, that just got so much better because of how the format slowing down just a little bit. That would make that card just that much better.
It makes her first ability relevant, because before she was played for her second ability to populate. Like, you weren't often playing the 6 mana for a 3/3. You already had one generally to populate. That makes her first ability relevant. She might be the best uncommon in Chip Draft. Not knowing anything from the new site, just on these 2 sets, mixing them. Obviously, I can't take her pick pack one because she'll be in pack 3.
Right.
But she would be the card that
you can splash her. If you have one of those colors, you're going to be looking at, maybe you have that extra guild mage, and maybe you have that prism, or not guild mage,
Guildgate.
Guildgate, yeah.
Yeah, if I can splash, I'm splashing.
Absolutely. So things like
Dryad Militant is the other 1-drop that's still really good for you. Because
especially in Boros.
Because it still has a hybrid white. Yeah, it still has a hybrid white. You don't really care about... That doesn't really care about graveyard much at all.
It's almost Grizzly Bear if you Guildgate turn 1, play it turn 2.
Yeah. But if you can play it turn 1, it's still a really good attacker. At this point, I think it's probably higher on my list than Boros Elite.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't know how often you'll turn on Battalion in this format.
Right.
So she's always at least just a Savannah Lion.
Right.
I think she is your second best 1-drop if you're in Boros behind the Crackler.
Now, another interesting 1-drop that probably got worse overall, but especially you don't want to be looking to splash this 1-drop is Centaur's Herald.
Yeah.
Because, granted, it's like the Dead Reveler.
Mm-hmm.
It's your splash, playing in on turn 3 or 4. Centaur's Herald, it's terrible.
Yep.
But even if you are, let's say Selesnya even, the amount of populate that you have
is going to be way less.
So much less. You're going to have 1 pack to get all that populate.
I think you're going to have 2 pack. I'm fairly sure Dragon Maze, they were saying all the guild mechanics will be back.
Okay, that's true. I didn't think about that. You're right.
But you're going to have less of it, I'm
That's
sure.
true. Yeah. And so that Centaur's Herald, I'm not saying it's unplayable.
Mm-hmm.
This card's awful. But if you're Boros, just don't even pick it.
Yeah.
It's not worth the pick.
The difference is between having 2 packs and 3 packs with populating, it's huge.
Mm-hmm. And same with like Brush Strider or Gate Creeper Vine. These cards are your green cards. You don't want to be splashing these cards.
Yeah.
But you would think something like Gate Creeper Vine, you would think, oh, maybe I splash that.
The fix.
Yeah, but that doesn't really make sense. Because if you're already, you need your green, and if you're using green to get your mana fixing, you know.
Well, I guess the thought process may be, if you have the green in your opening hand and not your red, you're using to get your red.
Right.
But
okay.
You want to be playing an aggressive guy on turn 2. You don't want to be, if you're in this guild, you don't want to be playing...
Trying to make the aggressive Boros.
Yeah, you don't want to be playing an O2 defender.
Right.
That, unlike Basilica Guard, which is fine in Boros, right now, because of the extort, it's pushing across damage as you're playing your creatures.
And it can block
and it's blocking,
trade.
it's keeping you alive.
Yeah.
That card, it saves you a couple damage maybe and gets you and it doesn't really affect your board position that good.
Yeah, it's just awful for Boros. But speaking of offenders, so Axebane Guardian, I need to know more about the format to know my opinion on Axebane Guardian.
My opinion on Axebane Guardian is the same as it ever was. If you are trying to be the Silesia deck where it's just inevitability, I'm going to make a lot of tokens, I'm going to beat you. It's good because it gets you. No, I'm saying. But if you were trying to be an aggressive deck, it was never that good for you.
Right.
Because your 3-drop isn't turning sideways.
Right, but if you have some 5 and 6 drops to ramp up to, because maybe the format turns into things where 5 and 6 drops are the main parts of your deck. That could be it.
But then we're talking about trying to build aggressive Boros, so you're trying to get under that.
Well, that could be the way to do it. That's what I mean.
But that's not going to get under them. If you're ramping into your 5-drop a turn ahead of them, it's probably not going to get you underneath them. You're waiting to play an attacker to get underneath them.
True. Okay. So no, we're not playing Axebane Guardian, I would say.
No.
If you're Boros.
If you're in the heavy Boros cell. So that wraps up Boros.
Yeah.
We're going to do at least 1, if not 2 guilds every week from now on.
We'll spend about a half hour.
40 minutes.
Looks like we spent 40 minutes on this, but that's okay. Each week. So next week we'll do Selesnya.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go through each of the guilds, think about what we would play in that, and please, if you have an opinion, comment about it, and tell us why we're wrong or right, or your opinion.
We do our best to reply back and get back to you.
Yeah, we'll love to hear it. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a fun and interesting format to draft, I think.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It's going to be wild. I cannot wait.
It's either going to be a lot of fun, or it's going to be painstakingly slow, and you're going to drive a nail to your head. I don't know which.
I hope the former.
I hope the former, too.
All right. So, having a little discussion with our
resident troll.
That's one way to describe him. But no, we're just having a little dialogue between a couple people on the interwebs in the comments section. So, I mean, if you want to start one of these, we'll talk to you, and we'll even talk to you about you during the podcast. So if we call out your name, it means you
brought up a point that we wanted to touch on.
Right. So, we'd like to talk about 2 things: Counterdrafting and what's the card?
Foundry Street Denizen.
Foundry Street Denizen. Thank you. Let's talk about Foundry Street Denizen first, because I think this will be quicker.
Okay.
Foundry Street Denizen. It's a 1-drop. Do you play it?
No.
No, and why is that?
It's bad.
Okay, why is it bad?
Because at this point, at best, it's shocking your opponent. It's playing a shock on your opponent. You're playing on turn 1, and if they have no 1-drops, that means next turn you get in for 2 if you play a red creature. And then the way the format works right now, they're playing a 2-drop. They're going to play a Synecdoche, they're going to play a Disciple of the Old Ways, they're going to play any number of 2-drops, a Basilicus creature, and you're done swinging in. You might, because they know they won't want to trade it off, get in
Just
2 more damage?
Just being devil's advocate, okay?
Okay.
So the argument is, I play him turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I always hit it turn 1 because I'm amazing at Magic, and I never miss my turn 1 drop, right?
Yeah.
So I never draw him turn 6.
Okay.
So just throwing that argument out because it's irrelevant, and I don't look at good arguments.
Okay.
Play him turn 1, then turn 2. I of course have a red dude in my hand because I have multicolor people, and I play my 2-drop.
Yeah.
So first of all, I even have a 2-drop, a 1 and a 2-drop in my mana that I can play with it, and I swing him for 2. And then of course I have a 3-drop that's also red, and I swing in for like 4.
Okay. So in the situation you set up, let me set up any number of counter situations. Why it's not good. So I am playing Simic. My creatures at turn 3 are going to, Krakenor doesn't care.
Yeah. Oh, you have a 2/1? That's cute.
Yeah, or I got a Shamble Shark that evolved when I played my Krakenora.
Right.
I've been playing creatures that are evolving and getting bigger than yours, and your 1-drop.
Say you're Boros.
Sam, Boros is good. It's good for the Boros. I shouldn't say it's good. It's serviceable for the Boros mirror, but that's it.
That's about it. I would agree. And that's about the only time I would play. Because especially since you want to be a little more aggressive, but even at the same time, you're still playing a really bad card.
Yeah.
And
it is
I made the point that it wasn't heard with this person I was talking to, that when you draw it turn 5, it's not, heck, if you draw it turn 2, it's not good. If you don't play it turn 1, it's bad.
Unlike
any other creature.
Not any other. Like, Boros Elite's fine because if you need a blocker, it does that. If you need an attacker, he attacks as a 3/3. Every time, because, probably if you're in a position where you're being aggressive and attacking back.
Right.
And you're in Boros, he's probably attacking as a 3/3.
But here's the thing. The later it gets in the game, the worse it gets because you run out of cards. So then it's just a 1/1. And that's why it's bad.
Yes.
And now something else, if you're looking for 1-drops, like Dried Militant, that's a good, or not Dried Militant, Druid Emissary, what is it? The 2/1?
Dried Militant.
Dried Militant?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'll trust my gut on that. Dried Militant, the 2/1, that's Savannah Lions. That's a good 1-drop.
Yep.
Boros Elite's a good 1-drop too. Because it can be a 3/3. And having a Grizzly Bear that can block, or Rakdos Cackler, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
Because it's always going to be that too. It's not conditional. And that's why the Denizen's bad.
Well, and part of it is, if you want to look at, if we need to step further, like, what makes a good 1-drop in Limited?
Okay.
Is it good past, like you said, turn 1? A card like a Land War Elf, that if you draw that turn 3 and lets you excel into your 5-drop,
that's amazing.
That's going to be good, and you can still play your other Grizzly Bear with that turn. Or a card like the card you just named. What? The Black Denizen. That's you'll be running out of black cards to play later in the game. But its ability is going to be more relevant.
Right.
Later in the game.
+1/+2 or +1/+0.
Yeah, giving something that intimidates me way more relevant.
Yeah. So just
the Extort 1-drop extorts me way more relevant later in the game.
Yeah. I mean, this card just, I didn't even have to go through all this in my head to realize this is a bad card. I did my first draft. My opponent was playing it. I read the card. I picked it up. I read it, and I immediately thought he's playing a really bad card. And he played a second one, and I immediately thought, I know I'm going to win this draft this match because my opponent cannot evaluate cards effectively because he's looking at this card and thinking it's good. And this is when I thought Bomber Chorus was really good too.
We had a friend who wanted the card to be good so much that he decided to pick up all of them he saw in a draft online, and he picked up 8 of them.
Right.
8 was not like at 8 you should be able to go turn 1, play one, swing for two.
Right.
You know, then
If it's
keep
not
playing
good
one or two every turn and start swinging like.
right. If it's not good at 8, it's probably not good. I mean, name another card that's a good card that's not good at 8.
I would love to have 8 of the 1-drop extorters or 8 Boros Elite.
Right. 8 Madcap skills?
No, too many.
Okay. So maybe there is a.
But you're talking about a creature enchantment versus a creature. Name another creature that's playable that's not good at 8.
I can't right now off the top of my head. I'm sure there's someone going to comment that's going to be like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But there's always exceptions to the rule, but most of the time, that's a good creature. Like, you're going to want more.
I had, just the other night, on Friday, I was repping F&M. I had the deck that had 4 of the Drake-Wing Crosses and 4 Krakenora. Yeah, I was happy to have 4 of both those creatures. I would have loved to have 8 of both those. My deck just be those guys, being like,
16 of those. That might be a little ridiculous.
I mean, I had 5 Kingpin pets in the second draft that night.
Yeah.
Like, that was like, every time I saw it, I was like, of course I want another Kingpin pet.
Right.
So,
and if you don't want another Denizen past, I don't know, the first, for me, or the 0, I don't even think you could have the most aggressive Boros deck ever, and I don't want to play that card.
No, I don't either. So I'm sure someone else will tell us we're wrong.
Of course they are. It's the internet.
But we'll tell you again why you were wrong, and we'll explain all these points.
Right.
Again, that if your card is like clearly a card like Grizzly Bear is way better on turn 2 than turn 5.
Right.
But a 2/2 blocker could be relevant, / attacker could be relevant on turn 5.
Uh-huh.
The Denizen almost never is.
Right. Okay, so I think we've beat that dead horse enough.
Yep.
We shouldn't need to explain that this card is not good, but people keep playing this card. I keep seeing people defend it. So, you know what?
You know when we'll stop beating this dead horse? When it stops getting up and walking away.
That's true. That's a great analogy. I love that. I'm going to start using that. I've never heard that. But anyway, next subject. Another subject that we're getting a lot of talk about. And I kind of read it on the internet just to see kind of the consensus of some other people.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of on the side of
the
minority here. That doesn't mean we're wrong at all.
Here is my thought when you're talking about hate drafting.
Hate drafting, counter drafting, whatever you want to call it. First of all, is there a difference between hate drafting and counter drafting?
Not as I see it.
Okay.
I describe them the same way.
How would you describe it? So we're clear on definitions. How would you describe it?
Can we just explain the situation?
Sure, go ahead.
We were in a draft. I don't remember what card took anymore. But we were in Boros, and we were thinking about a Gruul Splash.
Right.
Okay?
It was the 1/2 with Death Touch.
Yes, okay. So this is pick 1, pack 2. We know we're in Boros heavily, and maybe splashing into some green.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in Boros. In fact, in pack 1, our first 2 picks were True Fire Paladin. We are Boros. But we are thinking about a green splash because we want to try out Nile. We just want to give it a shot, see how it looks, see how it feels, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, pick 1, pack 2, we take the Pit Viper. Is that what it's called, Pit Viper?
I don't remember. It's a 1/2 with Death Touch.
That has the Blood Rush.
Mm-hmm.
So we're thinking that card's good.
And there's no other Boros card for us.
No Boros card for us. And the reason we actually take it is it's really good with Bomber Core. And so we're like, it's fun with Bomber Core because you put the Battalion Bigger on the stack, give it Death Touch, and just kill one of their guys.
Right, that seems awesome. I wanted to play that. I wanted to try it out. I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And there's no other pick here for us.
No other pick here for us. But there was is it called Master Biomancer?
What does it do again?
The 2/4 gives +1/+1 equal to its power target creature.
Okay.
Or whenever a creature enters the battlefield. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mythic rare.
And so we didn't take this card because there's no way we're playing it.
Correct.
While there's a shot we're playing this card.
We're not playing Simic. We're not splashing into Simic.
Yeah. One of the things I always hate when people tell me is, well, you didn't take the card, it's $10. I don't care, I'm trying to win the draft.
Right.
It could be, well, I guess it was like $100 probably taking it
anyway. I will address that in a second. Just keep going on about, let's say this is a Pro Tour draft. You're trying to win the Pro Tour.
Okay, so we're trying to win this draft. So I'm going to take the best card from my deck. And if I play against that card, I know it's out there. So I can sort of play around this card. I can late in picks where there's nothing for my deck. I can cut some good Simic cards, so their deck isn't as good.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's a card that might be in my deck, I'm taking that card every time, because if my deck is just better, it gives me a better shot to win.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than having used a pick so someone else's deck is worse, and I'm making my deck better, I just don't like it. I don't think you're building the best
Here's
deck
the
for you.
argument, though. I'll give you the devil's advocate argument. I tend to agree with you, but I do want to play devil's advocate. You are not increasing your deck's overall quality by much, but your opponent's deck quality is increased significantly overall. Because this was a counter argument to what I originally brought up. Because I was playing devil's advocate with myself. Because I originally had brought up, the probability of playing against this card, very unlikely. Because think about it, there's 7 other people that you could play in your draft, and there's one person that got this. That's 1 out of 7. Then this person has to draw that card. That's about I forget what the percentage
First
was.
one's going to be 1 out of 40, so going to be 1 out of 39. Third one's going to be...
No. It's in their opener. It's 7 divided by 30, 7 divided by 40, because there's 7. But so, I think having it in the first 9 is somewhere around 40 to 50%. But even still, they still have to draw it, and then that's not taking into account of it. Do you have a removal for it? Do you have? Is it affecting the game? That argument. I think we heard that growing up. And that was pretty much consensus. The argument against that is, well, you could argue that for anything. Say you draft, Aurelia's Fury. Well, you still have to draw it. Will it affect board state? You still only have 7 out of 40%. So the person arguing against what I was saying about the probabilities was stating that because a card like Aurelia's Fury, if you're playing it, it makes your deck significantly better, the overall average of your cards. While if you take something like that Viper, maybe we play it, maybe we don't. Maybe that makes our deck quality better by insignificant margins. While that $10 card that we passed, maybe that makes their deck 10 to 15% better overall quality.
I'm not worried about my opponent's deck quality or my deck quality. That is where I can control my horizontal and verticals. Maybe their deck is only good because they have the 1 bomb rare, and if they don't have it, they're going to lose. So they have to draw 2 games against me to have a shot to beat my deck. I am worried about, when I'm drafting, the way I look at it is I can control the horizontal and verticals of the cards I draft.
Right.
And what I put in my deck. And so that's what I'm going to try to control. If you want to counter draft, more power to you, but I'm going to tell you that the majority of the time, you're going to have not as good a deck as the person who isn't counter drafting. Because every pick they look at, they're trying to figure out how to optimize their deck. While at your picks, you're maybe getting away from optimizing your deck to make sure someone else can't optimize theirs. I can see that if there's nothing for you.
Right, I was just about to bring that up.
If there's nothing for you in a pack at all that you might want to play, go ahead and take the best card from someone else.
So, if it's pack 6 or 7.
Pack 6 or 7?
Or pick 6 or 7, you know what I meant. Pick 6 or 7, and there's a denizen there for you. You take
and a Shamble Shark, say?
Yeah, sure.
You take the Shamble Shark.
Right, and there's nothing else there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you take... If there's nothing playable, you take the best card.
Yeah, but if there's something but if you have the ability to optimize your deck a little bit more...
So, let's say there's a Naturalize in there, but one of those great cards. Do you take the Naturalize? I think you do, because that
if you're in Boros?
No, I'm just saying, let's say you're Simic or Lesnia. Sure. And there's I don't know, Aurelia's Fury. So no, that's something that's plashable. Just some rare that's out of your colors. There's an Obsidian.
Okay.
Your Gruul, there's an Obsidian. You're not splashing it.
Take a naturalize over it? Absolutely
No,
not.
no. You're missing my point completely.
But okay, I will tell you a real story the opposite up. Okay?
Okay, sure.
And I won this tournament, okay? I am in Gruul heavily. It's pack 3. And I know 2 seats down the guy's in Orzhov, because he always is. And so I know, and I open an Obsidat, and I open a Gore Clan, whatever he is now.
Gore Clan Rampager?
Rampager. They're both my pack. I'm in Gruul. That Gore Clan Rampager is really good for me.
Mm-hmm.
That Obsidat's even better for him.
Oh, so much better.
But I'm taking that Gore Clan Rampager and saying, 1, I have to play him, 2, he has to draw it, and 3, my deck's going to be better than him. Because I'm looking at my deck and saying, it's sick. And I've known what I've been passing that way in 2 packs, and knowing at this point, he pretty much just has that. And whenever he got out of pack 2. But I know in 2 packs, he didn't see much good because he's only 2 seats down from me, and I didn't pass a whole lot of good down there, you know?
Right.
But I also know that guy is always going to... But I mean, I guess that's very specific because I know that's who it's going to.
Yeah, that's kind of irrelevant.
But at the same point in time...
You can kind of tell what your opponent should be in based upon the draft. And...
Yeah. And so, I'm going to say, someone's going to take this. I haven't seen a whole lot of good Orzhov passing that way. I've been passing that way twice. I haven't seen a whole lot of good Orzhov. I know my deck's really good, and this makes my deck better, and this card doesn't, so I'm going to pass it off.
Okay. So there's one other thing I want to address, and then I'll address the money drafting. So, if it's pack 3, this isn't very relevant, but if it's pack 1 or 2, and you're kind of already color committed, sending a strong card is great for signaling. You do want to signal. That way you tell your opponent, hey, these colors are open. Don't miss this. Like, I'm going to start sending you these colors. Start taking these, and you'll start getting the hookup from me.
Mm-hmm.
And then especially pack 2. If I send that $10 card over to my opponent, and he takes that, and then starts taking Simic cards, then pack 3, I'm going to be set up for Boros again.
Yep.
So signaling is so important. So by not taking the Obsidian rather than counterdrafting, yeah, their deck gets a little better or significantly better. But because maybe that sent them into Orzhov, now all of a sudden you're open for Gruul, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe they were Simic, or I don't know. And they switched or something.
Yeah, sometimes sending a card like that makes someone switch, and now all of a sudden their deck can be even worse.
Right.
So, I mean, like...
Or maybe they're not in those colors, and they decide to counterdraft for you.
Yeah.
There's always that, too. So...
It's possibly that card was never played in that tournament.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's another reason to not just... So, just let everybody get their best card and beat them. Because your deck should be better. Because you're taking the better cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if someone's counterdrafting, I mean, and they don't have as many playable cards as I do at the end because they spent high picks counterdrafting, good for them. I'm going to beat them. Or if they switched because I sent that signal, and say they were in Orzhov, and now pack 2, they're going into Simic. Great. Yeah, that means they're trying to beat us on 2 packs of cards, basically. We have 3.
Yep. Counterdrafting, I've never got it. I tried it when I was younger, and it was just like, I don't like this because I'd rather be taking cards I want.
Yeah, I only get it if there's nothing for your deck. If there's anything for your deck, take it.
Yeah. So, final point, money drafting. Now, when you're online, it depends. Now, I get your point that you're trying to win the draft, and I respect it and agree with it. But when you have a card that's $10, it's kind of harder to justify taking maybe a card that you may or may not play for $10. I mean, if that's a $10 bill, or maybe a card that you may play, what do you take?
I take the card I may play most of the time. I mean...
Most of the time, right. Now, at some point, you're going to take the money.
It becomes a dollar figure at a point where, yes, I do take the money.
Yeah.
But most of the time...
And I think that point is when you can replace your draft.
No, to me, it's because if I can win, I can replace my draft. To me,
Plus some.
It's when is it greater than? Okay, so say there is card X that is worth $25. Okay,
I would take that card.
And card Y that's worth a nickel, but it's True Fire Paladin. While this $25 card is, I don't know, Foil Shockland.
Okay.
I have a better shot of winning this tournament, winning the 8 packs from this 8-4? And that's what I'm playing. If I'm playing a Swiss, I'm taking that $25 card.
Right.
If I'm playing an 8-4, I'm taking that True Fire Paladin.
But no. Because, see, I disagree on this because, you get mana screwed. You don't draw well, or your opponent has the nuts, you can lose. So the guaranteed $25 to me, that's just, I'm taking that and getting a draft and a half out of that, and then probably maybe still winning the draft. It's like I just won the draft by taking that $25 card.
See, and here's I guess where the difference is, where you like to win, I need to win. Where I have passed, true story, when What's It Called came out, second set of original Ravnica block, Guild Pack. Passed Dark Confidant to my opponent, they were like, "You just passed me Dark Confidant." I was like, "Yeah, what'd you take?" This common burn spell. And I mean, I didn't care, and I was not going to win enough to make up for what I passed in that Dark Confidant. Wasn't going to do it. I knew that. But you like to win, I need to win.
Well, it's if it was real life, I would definitely be with you. But since it's online,
in real life, you can go sell that card and pay for your next draft.
That's true, I guess. Yeah, so the argument remains the same. But to me, that's $25. I just won the draft. It's like I just won those eight packs that I'm playing for. Yes. What I'm playing for is more drafts.
Yes. And see, you're playing for more drafts. You're playing for... And when I play, I just play to win. And I don't...
Now, one exception to this rule is when I'm recording. I never money draft when I'm recording. Unless it's like pick 7.
The only time I money draft is if I'm forced to. Like, I draft a lot with online and not with another one of my friends, Doug.
So what's your value?
He will money draft. It's his value. He'll see cards like, oh, that's worth $5, we're taking it. Oh, that's worth this, we're taking it. And our decks, and he only plays in Swiss because our decks end up being bad because he money drafts.
Right.
And sometimes they're really good. If we don't see any money, the decks end up being really good and generally win.
When you money draft, your deck's going to be bad.
Yeah.
I agree. So that's really your own call.
Yeah, and so I guess
but I want to know, what's your money value?
What's my money value that I'll take the card? I will say that in something that's called a rare draft that takes place in a town not too far from here every once in a while, I did pass a better card for my deck to take at the time. Moat was $150. So I took the $150 moat over the better card for my deck.
$150. That's how much you need. You need to open a foil Jace the Mind Sculptor and gate crash.
I like to win.
All right. That's what you say. That's neither here nor there. That's more a matter of opinion. So if you hate draft, if you think it's valuable to you, fine. I can understand that.
I get why people do it too. I just simply disagree with the premise.
Right. Because, I definitely... I understand you. I'm just saying, when the only time I can even consider it, I don't do it for $10. I don't do it for $15. I do it for like $20, $25 or above.
Wait, that's money if you're not hate drafting. If you money draft and that's how you pay to play Moto online, so like I know people who do, that's fine. That's your prerogative. Just because I don't do it doesn't mean I think it's necessarily wrong.
But if you hate draft, you're wrong. We'll put that right
in
now.
our opinion, you're wrong. Yeah.
Our opinion is fact. So.
At least on this podcast.
That should be our motto. Our opinion is fact.
At least on this podcast.
All right. Well, that should be enough material for today. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Please subscribe so you can follow us in our weekly podcast.
Yeah, and we'll probably get some more draft videos up pretty hopefully, won't you think?
Hopefully. I've been buying this house, so I've not been having much time, but I want to get my feet wet with drafting again. I won't be playing Court Street Denizen, that's for sure.
Foundry Street. You'll play Court Street. Court Street's fine.
Oh, right. You know what I mean. Boundary Street. Because we put the nail in that coffin. So go ahead, leave your comments of your thoughts. If you have any suggestions of what we should talk about, please let us know. We'd love to hear your feedback.
The Paladin way more. I guess it's an uncommon, so you see it more. But, I mean, I've beat Stolen Identities just by being like...
Yeah. Like, I wasn't playing, like, you know, pile drivers, and I was like, ball lightning.
In your goblin deck.
It wasn't even a goblin deck. It was